Meat has been crucial to human evolution and development. There is evidence dating back to 2.9 million years ago showing that early hominins ate meat and bone marrow from other animals. With the rise of early civilizations, humans managed to domesticate animals, with wild goats and wolves being the first ones around 8,000 years ago. Culturally speaking, meat has had a huge importance throughout history. A lot of people today would only consider a plate of food a meal if it contains meat. Even the NHS suggests eating lean meats and poultry for a healthy diet. And throughout the millennia, the symbiotic relationship between man and animal wasn't seen as cruel, but necessary and humane. However, with the rise of the Industrial Revolution in the 1800s, animal farming took a dark turn. With better farming techniques, new state-of-the-art railroads connecting entire countries, and easier mass production techniques, it was now possible to produce and distribute a lot of meat very quickly. This was the birth of a new era of animal husbandry: factory farming. Pigs, cows, chickens, and many other animals are densely crammed into factories and sent to slaughterhouses, valuing productivity over animal welfare. How did we get here? How is the general public not shocked? The simple answer is that a lot of people aren't fully aware of the techniques used in production of meat when they buy their meat in the supermarkets. Obviously, no one thinks the slabs of meat just appear magically on the shelves, but most people, including myself, have never visited one of these slaughterhouses, and therefore cannot fully grasp what exactly goes on there. A sort of blissful ignorance. Well, what can we do now? Well, one option is to stop eating meat altogether, otherwise known as veganism. The idea is to have a full plant-based diet which provides the same necessary nutrients as you would eating meat, but without harming animals. A lot of people don't like this idea because, as I mentioned before, meat is a very important part of our society and has been for millennia. There is another solution though: lab-grown meat. What is lab-grown meat, you ask? Well, it's all in the name really. With new scientific developments in stem cell research, we can now grow meat in a petri dish. So, how is it made? Well, it's a little bit tricky, but here's a simplified version. First of all, we need stem cells, which are essentially a cell with no role, a blank slate. Then, we also need to harvest some satellite cells from the animal. This is done with a biopsy and is harmless to the animal. The cells are then put into a bioreactor, where they multiply and grow as quickly as possible. The reactor has a growth medium for the cells to grow, along with some transcription factors, proteins that stop the blank cells from transforming. When enough cells are produced, the satellite cells irreversibly differentiate into skeletal muscle cells. The cells are then removed and placed into 3D biodegradable scaffolds, where they finish differentiating. After some electrical and mechanical stimulation, along with some biomolecules containing the scaffolds, you get 100% slaughter-free meat. Now, why is this important? Of course, animal cruelty is a big issue, and that alone should be enough reason to adopt this new technique. But there are more benefits. There has been a rising issue over the past few decades which is now more relevant than ever. You may have heard of it: climate change. Raising livestock generates 14.5% of greenhouse gas emissions, uses 70% of all agricultural land, and requires 15,000 litres of water for 1 kilogram of beef. 36% of the world's crop calories are fed to animals, and the main reason for deforestation in the world is for agricultural expansion. Lab-grown meat would tackle these issues, requiring only 1% of the land compared to traditional farming and not having to feed livestock. There would be a lot more space for crops intended for human consumption and no need for deforestation. As if that wasn't good enough, growing meat in a lab uses 5 times less water for the same amount of meat and produces only a quarter of the greenhouse gas. Unfortunately, nothing is perfect, not even growing meat in a lab. Some of these issues include price compared to traditionally farmed meat, and we're still not sure what to do about the farmers who lose their jobs or what to do with the animals. That's without mentioning the general public's reluctance to eat the unnatural meat that came from a lab. We have a chance to make a real difference in both the environmental and animal welfare issues. We have the opportunity to make less animals suffer, produce less greenhouse gases, and slow down climate change, all whilst still enjoying the luxuries of meat. It's important for everyone to be informed about where meat comes from now and where it could come from in the future, and realize that growing meat in a lab isn't less natural than the millennia of selective breeding we've been performing on animals. It's time to move on from the era of factory farming and enter the era of